live?
We are live.
18 people. Come on, folks. Come on in and join us here. 19. Excellent connection.
Excuse me.
You feeling a little better now that we started? Welcome to How They Got Hacked, episode 27. 27 episodes. I was impressed with all the views we've got lately. It's been it's ramping up faster and faster. A few thousand subscribers now. It feels like we just started yesterday. I know it was further away than yesterday, but still.
It's been a journey.
It's been a journey. We're glad that all of you are here from the beginning.
It's been worth it.
We're glad that thanks Matt. We have the How They Got Hacked things here.
Shot glasses.
Whiskey glasses. So thanks to person just signed Matt. Thank you very much. He only gave us what he wanted us to know about him. We don't know if his name's really Matt, but that's what he said. Therefore, that's what we'll call him.
Hey, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, thank you. Tom Lawrence.
Xavier D. Johnson.
Maurice Nash.
All right. And we're ready for another episode. Now, we have an idea that we didn't, sometimes get, we're really strong on the content. We do spend time on that, but the organization behind the scenes occasionally, we had some burgers today. We had a good conversation, but then it didn't lead to what we want to do, so maybe we'll do this next week. We want to do the Hacker Hot Ones, and what we're going to do is we'll do a live show over on my other YouTube channel, and then you'll do a quick live show, and we'll eat some hot stuff and have some fun, and then we'll jump over to the other show. So our pre-show will be us hackers eating some hot stuff. I don't think any of us are really feeling it today to do it beforehand. We ate, but none of us are ready for it. You got to be psyched up for it. I eat hot stuff all the time, but they don't. So there's a little bit more psyching
I'm always up for it.
Yeah. So that's kind of the plan for next week. We're gonna definitely do that, though. That sounds like a lot of fun. And I didn't mention you guys, but I'm thinking about doing some. We may do a giveaway at some point, and someone had mentioned, I posted these on Facebook and on Twitter, and someone local reached out to me, a new client, and he says, hey, by the way, I also own a company that has an engraver, and we were there at his office doing some stuff, and he showed me he's got a machine. He says, I don't do this, we do it for his own promotional stuff. He owns a promotional company that his other company is his client of. So, but he says he'll hook us up with a good deal if we want something to do a giveaway and things like that.
Definitely. I definitely want to give back
He's
to
got
the
a
viewers.
neat company. Yeah.
Very nice.
So, but yeah, it might be kind of cool so we can make some custom one-off stuff for people. That way, it's cool doing Teespring and all that, but a lot of people do. It's cool doing, the things we do, but they're very common and generic. So I want to do something special that you can't just go find.
Right.
And so that's in the works, something I was thinking about. So.
Dope. Exciting.
Fun stuff, exciting stuff. Sorry, Xavier's a little bit under the weather today.
Yeah, my chest hurts for the third day in a row.
Yeah, getting old sucks.
Yeah, I don't know if it's as much age as it is just I don't know, fall.
Fall?
It's getting drier outside. The sun goes down earlier. I'm tired.
Yeah, it is weird. It's already dark. It's 7:45 and it's already dark out. That does feel strange.
Don't like it.
Yeah.
Take me to a place of the country that doesn't happen.
Well, you gotta go south. You moving to Florida?
Florida. Coming near you.
Don't go to Texas. I heard it's really wet down there right now.
Ooh,
And they got a bunch of flooding going on again?
Poor Texas.
Yeah, it's rough down there.
Keep Texas in your prayers.
Yeah. Let's talk about, though, I watched this webinar, and one of the things I like, first, this webinar is very on point. It's got some really good security professionals in it, including a friend of mine, Kyle, from Huntress Labs. And Datto sponsored this, and it does not require, this is the good part, does not require some type of sign-up. I hate when people put all these webinars, hold on, you weren't an attendee of the conference. You got to, be on the hook. I got to get a phone number. I got to get an email. I got to put you in my drip campaign and try to market to you. They actually, Datto put this together, and it's a whole interview with some people about an MSP, and this is awesome. This is the way you should do it. The MSP that got breached and went through an entire process is also the person who moderates this. So he comes from a very real perspective, and it's got some emotional moments on the stage, which make it that much more real. And they break down breaches. They walk you through how some of them happen. And these are guys who all are doing breach remediation. So this is very firsthand how they got hacked information in the most literal sense of the term.
Nice.
And so it's about, I think they start doing some Q&A about the 40-minute mark. So it's about a 40-minute talk, but it's concise. They're on point. They walk you through real-time breaches that occurred, what the systems were done, and it's enlightening. It's a good thing. So I just wanted to bring it up there. I watched that, and it was really good.
Oh.
So that'll be in the show notes. And this is another how they got hacked story. Hacked government contractor shares breach tales as investigation continues.
Breach tales.
Breach tales.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
You know, like Dragon Tales.
Yeah, it's like Dragon Tales.
Breach tales. There you go.
And this is just someone coming clean. I like this. What they say right here in this line. It says it could have happened to anyone. Sandish Sharda, president of Arlington, Virginia-based Miracle Systems, told Cyberscoop, "We keep hearing about all these hacks all the time. Whether it's Baltimore." Whether it's Texas, whether it's Capital One commercial government, this is not going away. How do we prepare our industry for these kind of attacks, and what's most important? And they walk through some of the details of it. There's still not a lot known other than they discovered, this is actually the story we talked about last week, where they discovered their credentials and their private data on the dark web.
Yep.
And the only way to get that is if they were inside. So this is indicator of compromise was yo shit's on the internet and the dark web, which is not that's not the indicator of compromise you want. One of the interesting things on the Dado Talk, they said the pre-indicators of compromise were seeing an elevated amount of attacks from Tor, and they said that was, on most of them, when they had some of the log data, they said that was an interesting thing. They would see all of a sudden a spike in logins because you would see a bunch of Tor connections coming into your network. That was always the precursor to when they would strike, because they were poking at it, they got it ready, you're in the sites, they're going to send you a phishing email. They made sure that you're not blocking Tor, and they know that, okay, I can get to your credential system, I can get to your login page, now I just need your login, send the phishing email, and they happened with efficiency. From phishing email to breach was very short time. Like, you click the phishing link, their phone went ding, and they're like, he did it, we're in, and they get to work. And they work fast. They work weekends, as they commented too. The hackers worked all weekend, locking down, deleting all the backups. They got a methodology. They get in there, they scoped your system, they're deleting your backups, they're purging everything, they're knocking down your systems, and then they're ransomwaring to keep you making it difficult to restore.
Gosh.
That's a hard way to get hit.
That's a hard way to get hit.
A rough one.
Yeah. So that's what I said. That whole Dado conversation was quite
Just think about
deep.
if that happened on Friday.
It probably did.
There is no weekend
Most
for you.
breaches happen on Friday.
There is no weekend for you.
Yeah.
There's somebody responding to an incident right now.
Yeah, really.
Let's see. Oh, someone messaged me on Facebook. What didn't someone say? Texas is flooding. Someone said it's not wet.
Texas is flooding. It's not wet. Texas is big. It's like a third of the size.
Where is? I want to clarify this. So
if you type in Texas flooding in Google, I see rivers of stuff. So let's not play a game here.
Oh no, it's definitely.
All those links are purple, so that means that Tom went and looked at the news. Like, it's not like we don't know. It's
yeah,
flooding.
I see the person's message on here.
Is the person on here? Sorry, person on here.
Oh no, they messaged me on Facebook. Someone that's watching our show. So, and I'm like, oh.
Hi, Facebook.
Anyways.
License plates.
License plate. This company built a private surveillance network. We tracked someone with it.
Yep.
This is. There was another one I just flipping through on YouTube, and I kind of watched it, but I was like, huh. This is becoming more popular. It's all these private security vendors, and I didn't even know we had one here in Detroit.
I didn't know either.
Which one are you talking about? Pinkerton?
Yeah,
There's so many.
Yeah.
There's a lot. It's scary.
There's a couple of them in Detroit, and they're basically for high net worth individuals, and they hire out security. And when they were doing a Vice interview, I'm like, that's Detroit.
Yep. It probably was Pinkerton. So what they do is, so the company that I'm speaking of is right there next to the arcade that we went to on 4th Street. And, Anyway, 4th Street and Brush. And what they do is they are tasked with investigation. Yeah. They are private investigators. And they use tools that look very much like NSA level, FBI level tools, right? Like they'll phish you, they'll capture your SMS over the air, they'll take pictures of you and stalk you and hack your refrigerator. They're an advanced persistent threat. So yeah, it's pretty interesting that they have to practice operational security so that their tools aren't leveraged in further damage against people who either they are continuing to follow or otherwise.
It's kind of crazy, and I was going to pull up the other video I watched on that of how they did that. It was really wild because these guys' surveillance vans were super. They had a half rack built into their surveillance van with all the right tools. I was like, that's impressive. Scary. Yeah, and they had a whole cell system set up in there, and it was like, whoa. Like, they were really pen testing and following people. So I can't find it in my history. I watch too many YouTube videos sometimes. it was like going on the scrolling there. Anyways, but this right here, back to the article, just a few taps and clicks, the tool showed where a car had been seen, and their industry. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by messages my wife's sending. A private investigator source had access to a powerful system used by their industry, repossession agents, insurance companies. Armed with just a car's plate number, the tool, fed by a network of private cameras spread across the country, provides users a list of times the car has been spotted. I gave the private investigator, who offered to demonstrate the capability, a play of someone who consented to being tracked, and it was a match. This, like I said, it's crazy the level of access that these private companies have built. It's really wild.
Scary.
It's not just governments that have access to this. And I kind of was trying to explain a little bit of this to some of the people in some of the MSP groups of how quickly you can pivot and see the software that these MSPs are running. They're like, oh, no, my IAP's hidden. And I'm like, who told you that BS, man?
Exactly.
Like,
Who's lying to you?
Who's lying to you, man? You got to get a better understanding of this. This is... You got to keep these things locked down. Matter of fact, we talked about me going through audits. We're going to do some more internal auditing on my network. I don't just trust me to do it because it's pretty serious stuff we have access to, and these breaches are serious. But the private investigators. But by the way, when I say private investigators, that also means any bad actors have the same levels of access. So anything that a non-government entity has, you can probably expect the bad actors.
I went ahead and added a link to our Google Doc, and right underneath the link that you clicked, you'll be able to see the quote-unquote most powerful private security companies in the world, and you'll see how far up and down these brands you recognize. These
Security
are brands.
Degree Hub?
These are brands that you recognize and know. So right.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty scary, and like you see from the pictures, what they do.
Oh yeah.
Triple Canopy is a fairly well-known one. Aegis, however you say that, Aegis.
Aegis,
Yep.
yeah, I think so.
They're very popular. Spent a lot of time in Afghanistan. The KBR is extremely popular.
Which Blackwaters from Michigan, aren't they from Grand Rapids?
I'm not sure.
I bet they're on the list.
Yes, it's somewhere in Upper Michigan.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it
But
is.
the further you get down, the scarier it gets, right? Like Seneca Group, Pinkerton Government Services.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, this is not like the regular private eye stuff. They even have government sectors. Brinks is number 10.
Yeah.
Huge brand. You wouldn't think that Brinks would be doing offensive security, but they do.
Yeah.
Right?
They're
They
not
guard
just,
people.
They're not just the company that's doing some
That's moving
transport,
money.
moving
Right.
money. I mean, that's the public-facing side, Wow.
Booz Allen, that's where
Snowden worked.
Snowden worked, yeah.
Yep. Booz Allen Hamilton. They're huge.
Huge.
Matter of fact, in the latest Darknet Diaries, that the
pops
lady,
back up.
she worked for Booz Allen Hamilton before she worked for the company that was mentioned in Darknet Diaries, Dark Matter.
Ooh, Dark Matter.
Yeah. So.
I don't want to spoil it for you guys.
Yeah.
There's literally a company called Control Risk Guardia. Or Garda.
Yeah, Garda World.
Man, it's huge.
Dynacorp.
Not to be confused with who I
Yeah.
work with. ADT.
Yeah.
Scary, right? You
Yep.
have these people in your house. They're like, it'd be a shame if you took us out your house. It'd be a shame.
Yeah.
Securitas, a company that literally I feel like has a vendetta out for me.
Because he's been audited when you were in Germany by
yeah, a multitude of times. I don't think Securitas really likes me. And then G4S, which most people, if you're abroad, you've heard of these people. But it's nuts. These are private security companies that are working with government, that have stingrays, that have abilities to be able to put up certain cameras on posts right alongside as municipal posts. So they're getting this level of data and this level of access to data. It's just nuts.
Yeah, and it's when you look at the, especially the recent SIM hijacking, the whole SIM browser. We talked a little about that last time, but as I've dug a little bit deeper into it, trying to get a better understanding of it, I mean, that's scary that there's a browser on the SIM and that just a text message, a well-crafted with the right tools text message, will allow it to execute certain operations on your phone. It sounds like, or at least in terms of documentation, CDMA is not affected, and phones that don't have a SIM card don't have it. Because the way this works is that you need the SIM card interaction for programming.
Right.
So it's basically,
Right.
it's not like they're putting a backdoor in it. the backdoor always existed. It's something the cell phone companies had to do to be able to get information out of the SIM cards so they could program your phone.
Push firmware updates.
Right. And what it's doing is being able to pull some of the back-end data out of your phone, like location and certain other pieces of information. It doesn't sound like it has any type of privilege escalation right into the operating system. It's just kind of a low level, but that's enough. They want to know where you are.
So from what I saw was they actually introduced these bugs mistakenly trying to patch SS7.
Yeah.
So trying to fix another bug, they introduced this bug, right? So
yeah, they opened it up a lot more by doing it for text message. And it's also, it comes back to a little bit of why is all that even there? That's a security convenience thing. You want to be able to give people a SIM. You want to get them to right tower. When you think about the complexity of a cell network, think about that amount of phone call, and as I drive around, that phone needs to constantly know where it is so it knows the best tower to talk to. And cell towers, much like you sounds, there's a bunch of them, and they're small cell sites. I drive on the phone. I'm on the phone for 20 minutes, and I drive 20 miles. I'm passing a lot of different 4 or 5 towers. It needs to understand that to be able to do it. So there is a convenience factor. It needs to be able to talk to it to tell, hey, jump to the next tower so you don't drop the call. But that, of course, opens up that low level access. But that's one of the reasons I encrypt my phone, encrypt the communications we use, Signal, as you notice with my wife popping up on the Signal messages there on my computer. Those are ways you help mitigate it because you're adding up more layers of encryption for people to pull through.
But once I have compromised the host, as you saw, those messages are being decrypted on the client. So don't think that you're just magically safe if the FBI like kicks down your door.
Yeah.
If your computer's unlocked and on, it's as good as not having any keys.
Yeah.
So beware.
Was it Operation Bayonet?
Yes.
Yes.
That happens.
That happened.
And then the keys are in memory too.
Yep.
Shit, computers got to work.
A quick recap of what they had done. This is a government sting operation, by the way. This is the government coordinating this. They staged an incident outside the suspect's house because they knew he kept his laptop locked. They crashed into the gate of his mansion. And that wasn't quite enough to get him out of the house. So they had the police waiting around the house. They didn't want to do a raid because by the time you do the raid, he pulls the laptop, closes, done. But when you're like, what are these assholes doing? Why did someone just hit my gate? Why are these people screaming at each other? And then the cops show up and start yelling at the people that bumped into the gate. So now the cops aren't focused on his mansion. They're focused on yelling at these people. What do? I'm going to walk up front. And he didn't think to walk away and locked his laptop, so he just walked away. They tackle him. They got his phone. They're like, hey, he didn't lock it, so they're keeping the phone unlocked. He's tackled. There's another guy who's running inside the house, checking his laptop, making sure it doesn't go to sleep. That's how they got him. They knew he practiced good OPSEC, but all it took was crashed into the gate on his house.
Misdirection.
Old magician's trick here. So that was kind of crazy. They'll do that stuff, man. It's you always got to think, and the bad actors can do it as well. I mean, this was a sting operation. This was for the police taking down someone who was doing wrong.
Yeah, but if right now somebody just drove through the front of this building, I'm not locking my computer.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be clear about that. Like, there's some knee-jerk human,
oh yeah,
actions. Like, I'm going to self-preserve. Like, I'm like, oh shit, a car just drove into here.
Yeah.
Let me
let's go check that out. That looks interesting.
Right. Let's get away from that. Right.
To touch back on the topic of the SIM cards, I found a video that I watched. It was called "The Secret Life of SIM Cards." It was a DEF CON talk.
Oh, okay.
And that he really goes in depth on what you can do with a SIM card.
Tiny CPUs.
Yeah, it's basically a tiny CPU. I'm gonna drop a link in the chat, or should I put it in the show notes?
Vincent,
drop it in the show notes to get your permission. That way I can paste it all in later.
Okay.
That's pretty valid, though. I mean, it's really interesting, and we're trying to get down there. And related to trusting the hardware, it's really hard to trust the hardware unless you started grinding the silicone yourself from the sand. At some point, there is always levels of trust that happen in security. So it's always about security. That's why you say security is always about mitigating risk. Now, it turns out the whole hack was spoofed. The whole super micro grain of sand. Turns out there was no reality of that. That was all a bunch of BS.
I feel like what was that? Bloomberg.
Bloomberg
should get smacked down. They are constantly giving us fake security news.
Yeah. And we don't need that.
I feel like that just happened this week, too.
Yeah. There's enough real security news. We don't need to be chasing ghosts. We need to focus on the real stuff. We don't need distractions, Bloomberg, to get a bunch of fucking clicks.
God. You act like you don't sell a terminal that costs like $30,000 a year. Mm-hmm. Jeez. Like, you got these rich dudes paying you for this terminal. Why do you have to clickbait me?
Yeah, but you have to some levels of trust, and I bring that up too because my laptop that's not quite naked, but doesn't have as many stickers because I haven't gotten around to it yet. Got to slowly gather up the stickers as it makes its travels. It's going to be down in Florida for a couple days at an IT event. If I find the time, it may over to a GERCON event. I got to figure out if I can pull that off and make that happen. So, all that being said. One of the things that someone pointed out, they're like, oh, you don't know Lenovo. And I'm like, no, I do know Lenovo. Lenovo, if you read it, if you want to be clickbaity, you'll find a headline, Lenovo installs spyware on their computers. It's a lot more complicated than that. I wish it was that simple that we just caught some Chinese company installing spyware to spy on us Americans. I wish.
Well, I mean, Xiaomi did it, and OneNote did it, and all those people, they got busted.
Yeah.
And it was very, very clear and apparent that they were trying to spy on us.
Yeah, there's clear and apparent. And Lenovo was a way different scenario.
Right.
Lenovo on their consumer equipment, and some, I think it might have been, it's debatable what you call consumer and what you're not.
Is ThinkPad consumer?
No, some are, some aren't. That's the problem.
ThinkPad, some are, some aren't.
Yeah.
So a W
they
series,
have some,
T series are,
right.
X series are, but
I know, that's why I said it becomes, and they don't even label them as such. Some are, I would say they're not consumer if they have a TPM in them. Maybe that's the dividing line because a lot of the cheaper ones just don't have a TPM.
There you go. That makes total sense.
So I guess that's a dividing line because you pay more to have ones with TPM. But what had actually occurred was, they're not cleanly loaded. They had a series of laptops. They had Komodo software on there. I forget what it's called, but it's the Superfish by Komodo. Komodo's just a scummy company. I don't like them. They're an American-based company. And the way anything that's kind of consumer-facing, consumed by the general public, not necessarily for businesses, they load software on there that they get kickbacks for. 30-day trial of Norton and any other crapware you can think of. Well, how the story went is Superfish Komodo, undoubtedly, I don't know the financial details of it, probably give me a kickback for it. And by giving them a kickback for it, they loaded the software on there. But they went a step further. And this is a Windows problem, not a Linux one, hence why I'm not worried about the security. And you can't exploit this in Linux because Linux said, what the hell, why would we do that? The Linux kernel team, to my knowledge, still does not support this feature. In a UEFI BIOS, there is the ability, let's say I have some weird hardware, and I wanted Windows to go, hey, I don't want you to have to go find a driver. Why not load the driver in UEFI? And you can pull from a repository in UEFI. And Komodo says, you know what we could put there? Shit. So let's stick shit there. That way, even if you have a brand new clean computer, it will still reload the shit back on there. It's not a big storage. It's not like a whole program, but it's enough for like a stub installer to kick off and things like that. So that's how, even if you reloaded it, technically it could come back on there. There was a way to remove it. It required a BIOS update. But this is not even a concern with Linux.
At all.
At all. Linux will not pull from the repository, no matter. And by the way, it's a Windows binary, so it's not going to run in Linux, not without some more finagling.
Not without wine.
Yeah, and good luck with someone writing a wine module to load spyware on your computer.
Right?
I just feel it's not going to happen, but I could be
that's
wrong.
gonna work.
I could be wrong. Someone may do that as a hobby project, but so I'm not worried about it from a security standpoint. I'm fine with Lenovo. I don't particularly love any of the companies. And by the way, even if you buy someone, System 76, who does take the time to update the system, as many people love to hammer and point out when I did the System 76 system review, they're not physically making the laptops anyways. Still, a Chinese company made them, and they're just branding them. So which
and
Chinese
then,
company?
what are you going to do? Like, you're going to, like, plug it into an American switch? Okay, so where are the American switch companies at?
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to plug it into American... Okay, so you're going to plug it into that switch into an American gateway? Well, where's the American gateway company?
Yeah.
Oh, what about that modem? Oh, what about the actual wires and the silicone that runs on the pole or the switch upstream that you literally can't control? Because you know who doesn't care about the Chinese silicon? Comcast.
Right. Comcast wants lowest bidder to bring it to you.
Yeah, you said it's pre-Reddit? Okay, we need 50% off.
Like I said, security is about mitigating risk. There's not any one-size-fits-all simple solution. I just wanted to rant about that a little bit. But it's a valid point to bring that up if there was a security concern. But that's also one of the reasons if you're going to do security, you do run this. And by the way, I know some very large companies that do way level deeper of auditing than I do, and they still choose Lenovo with trusted platform modules, with full encryption that they set them up, and they do excellent OPSEC on there for the companies. I've got to see it firsthand. It's pretty cool stuff. Let's see. Physically destroying the grid.
Oh boy, physical destruction.
Physical destruction.
Oh boy.
Gotta get this stuff out of the way. New clues.
Russia's grid hackers. I'm about to put that shit on a t-shirt.
I like it. Russian grid hackers aimed
Russian
at physical
grid hackers.
destruction.
Wow.
It sounds like there's a little bit of mistakes in here. So, what happened was they were able to switch the power back on, which raised the question: why would Russian hackers build a sophisticated cyber weapon and plant it at the heart of the nation's power grid, only to trigger a 1-hour blackout? So this is one of the challenges. We still don't have full details on it, but it sounds like their goal was to start a massive disruption against the Ukraine here.
Ukrainians.
Yeah, and they really wanted to break it, and it sounds like somehow it didn't go quite as planned. So it's kind of like they got debunked a little bit, but it's also scary to think that they had levels of access.
Just imagine being the dude that messed that up. And
Yeah.
then you got like Vladimir walking up and he's just like he just like touches you with the special glove and you just like get sick from like some rare and exotic cancer.
Yeah.
Sheesh. That's the getting tapped on the shoulder that you never want. Tap of death.
Right, and I think what's really crazy about all this is the fact that these are nation states. I mean, and by the way, someone asked me this question. I don't think it's what you think. Let me kind of expand upon that so I don't just ramble. People ask about governments and nation states doing these attacks. Yes, it's going to get bigger. People are like, well, in the future, at least your cyber attacks, not bullet attacks. I'm like, no. Attacks compound each other. We're still going to fire missiles, still going to do bullet attacks, still going to physically do anything that was done before. This is another weapon. This doesn't replace the other weapons. We didn't take away the nukes because we have cyber weapons. Cyber weapons do seem more attractive, and although grid destruction would not be as same as killing lots of people, but lots of people could die because when the grid goes out...
Oh, it's definitely the
Right.
same of killing people.
It's very... It has a different...
People
it
are
may
going to
sound,
die. People
yeah.
are going to die.
People
There's
die.
going
You
to be
disrupt it.
famish, especially if you hold... Let's say you take someone offline for 90 days.
Yeah.
You have destabilized their economy.
Yes.
They can't grow food. They can't cut cattle.
Exactly.
They can't process or move things. Their entire economy halts. Not to mention the people are going to go into mass chaos, start to harm each other to survive.
Right.
And then you got the fact that, I don't know, day like 80, they're probably going to be B-2 bombers that fly over you and just drop bombs because your radar's been down for at least,
Right.
a
And
while.
there's only so much emergency power. Once you start attacking at the infrastructure level,
It's over.
It's very much. And there was all kinds of different psyops campaigns that went on even during World War II, similar things like this. Once you start disrupting the economics of things, it becomes a very devastating thing to the country. You can kind of, without firing a shot, so to speak, you can really help own some of these countries. And if the goal is neutralization of the enemy, which generally it is, or potential in Russian, I believe their goal is to take it back over. First, you neutralize them, but you don't want the infrastructure destroyed. You want it turned off.
Right.
When everyone goes, we don't know how to fix it. Come save us, Russia. Okay, we'll come in and turn it all back on. So it's a very different kind of concept. I thought it was still... It's ramping up. It's going to be bigger and bigger with every passing day as we keep more and more things on there.
Why do people hate Detroit? Let's just take a moment and really just dedicate some time to this.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that.
Why
Total
do
chaos
people-
sounds like Detroit.
Why do people hate Detroit? What did Detroit ever do to you? We brought you
got a
RoboCop.
rap.
All right?
Look,
brought
RoboCop
you
wasn't real.
We brought you RoboCop. Right? Would you even be able to move? Like, would there even be an economy without the automobile, which was mass produced? We literally invented an assembly line.
Oh, literally.
Bruh, it's 2 patent offices in the entire world. 1 in D.C., the capital. 1 in Detroit. Ooh.
So let's go.
The freeways were like invented here.
Oh, you see that? The green light from the hallway.
Oh yeah. I see it blinking back there.
Yeah.
No, seriously, Detroit is an interesting place. If you ever come visit here, we have some of the craziest, most beautiful things you've ever seen when it comes to buildings, when it comes to architecture. Because Detroit, for the long time, we invented the first freeways right here in Detroit. The first major freeways, all that stuff, a lot of infrastructure. We were minting money for a long time.
And
We
fucking...
were
and
the first affluent city.
Oh
in
yeah,
the country.
Detroit was before the whole downfall of the automotive and everything else, and a lot of things that did happen. We went from being one of the wealthiest cities in America by far, by like we made Silicon Valley look small, to swinging far the other way.
And we are still adjacent, literally 1 The city borders the richest county in the world.
Oakland County.
Oakland County is the richest county.
I think Oakland County rivals. It's a lot of people don't realize just how wealthy
wealth.
Oakland County is.
Yeah, the automotive stuff is no joke.
Yeah.
You know, like if you build the CAN bus thing for GM, they're going to pay you forever.
Oh, yeah.
Like you're going to get a license for that.
Well, not to mention, someone brought it up here, Motown.
There you go.
We didn't just put the world on wheels. We brought you Motown. We brought you Techno, birthplace here, Detroit Techno Fest. This is, matter of fact, it moved to Europe. It started here before it was in Europe. Deadmau5 made his premiere here, at the Tech Fest, stuff like that. Deadmau5 used to come here. That was where he made his name for himself.
Detroit hate.
By the way, if you
because you know there's hackers in Detroit and we have nothing to lose.
We got nothing to lose. We're in Detroit. We got nothing to lose.
It's too chaotic. They'll never catch us.
I'll also throw it out there, though. If you hate us because of Lions, I'm not going to fight you.
Yeah, I was going to sound like I can't argue.
But you should love us because we lose to your team. So you should still love us.
It's a good loser,
right? Like you should be enjoying the fact that your team, which is probably just as shitty as ours, is still beating up on our shitty team.
Yeah.
Huh?
So
we got come to Detroit, feel good, be a boss.
Well, yeah, we border Canada, so.
All right, A. There's, you know what? There's Canada south of us. We are north of Canada as Detroiters.
That's actually true. Interesting fact about us.
You know, we're north of Canada.
Yep. Anyways, back to hacking news.
I'm sorry. I just had to go on to a rant. Eric Thomas will be proud of me.
Well, he hates
I'll snip this and I'll send it to him.
Let's see here. We'll go. This is a good thing. Now, I thought this was kind of cool, and this relates to more and more companies do this. Yes. Sandboxie is a utility for sandboxing any application, and it's by Sophos. And Sophos has always been a company that's made some really cool stuff. I haven't used them in a while personally, but I used to use them back in the day because when you set up mail servers, pretty much Sophos was the company for Linux mail servers.
Good old UTM. So you got a UTM back here somewhere, isn't that right there?
Yeah, we got to test. We do have one. We have
here. Let's set this on fire for the Sophos guys.
Yeah.
The old sofa.
That'll be our prop for now. We got to do some testing with it. There we go. Added a prop to the table here.
And we'll do one of these.
There we go.
There you go.
Sophos holding our whiskey.
There you go. That's what you're good for right now, Sophos.
Yeah. So, the UK cybersecurity firm announced this week it plans to open source the Sandboxie project, a Windows utility that lets users run any application inside of a secure sandbox. And this is becoming a popular thing. And actually, I've seen a good discussion in one of the MSP forums, or someone had kind of panicked. And we've seen this before. If someone wants to run some of the utilities, like our Screen Connect utility or things like that, that's a standard executable that we're going to deploy to a client. But some of these companies go a step further, and part of their testing procedure is to run it through a sandbox. And you'll see multiple instances. You said, I only thought one computer, but all of a sudden several have shown up. It's kind of interesting, and what you're seeing is their own protection software running everything in Sandbox prior to deploying it on their network to make sure it works and it does what it's supposed to do.
You know what I love about Sandboxes? Sandbox Escaper.
Yes.
Sandbox Escaper. If you're watching this Sandbox Escaper, thank you. You're very inspiring.
Inspiring. Sandbox Escapers, look up that hacker. Absolutely genius.
Thank you. Please don't hack me.
But sandboxes are an important part of security testing. You want to kind of see what it does, take it apart, see if it does what whatever that software says it does. And this is part of building a trust model for software, where especially you're trying new things. And I love that they're open sourcing it. This goes with, this is close to my heart. Security is a team sport. Yes. We're all in this together. We're sharing
the red
this
team
knowledge.
versus the blue team. No,
it's a red team versus a blue team.
It should be purple team. You see that back there? Yeah, you see the purple.
So you see purple. It's purple team. The reality is, with the reason we have red team, blue team, and at the end, they all shake hands. We figure out the findings. We work together to make it all better.
Because, he's a blue teamer.
Right.
A damn good one. So much so that he won't let me on this network. I re-engineered the whole thing.
Let me harden it a little bit more.
Hold on, dog. I'm supposed to be coming in as is. You guys can test now.
You can test now that we audited again and went through everything. But it's still part of the part is we're sharing. Even if you do divide it in teams, at the end it's a sport that we say this is what we found, this is how we're going to mitigate it, and you want red teams and blue teams working together, not that third party that came in.
The APT.
Yeah, the APT.
They're gold. They're gold color. They're the gold team.
They're the gold team
because they're just here for green and gold. They want money.
You don't want them to audit you, things like that.
Bitcoin team.
Ransomware team.
The ransom team.
Ransomware is a service team.
Man, isn't it getting scary?
It is.
It's like 2019 has been the scariest year for ransomwares ever.
It's the dollars. The dollars are driving more people in it.
That is a great segue. I made a video about the scariest ransomwares.
Oh, yeah.
Go check me out, youtube.com/c/Xavier D. Johnson.
Yes. Yeah. I'll drop it in there. So we'll get that in the notes as well. Make sure you check out Xavier's channel.
Oh my God! No self say 6ix9ine said we a part of the non-trade bloods. I'm sick. 6ix9ine done snitched on us.
Segueing off that.
If you don't know who 6ix9ine is, it's hilarious.
Yeah. Anyways, if you're using, it's just funny. I've been following it too because
it's like he's just like Cardi B's a 6ix9ine. You know, it's Cardi B's a blood. Jim Jones.
He's just pulling random people in.
Random
don't
people
have
out.
anything to do with him.
I think he's just rambling on about stuff, trying to get himself out of trouble. Unlike Harbor, if you're using Harbor Container Registry, bear in mind it can be hijacked. All you got to do is has admin role equals true. Catch now before miscreants sail off with all your apps and data.
Oh, it's over. Has admin role equals true.
Yeah. Let's link to. I love the register's headlines and stuff. That's why I started there.
Can I have root? Are you root? I am root. You are root.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So Aviv Sassani, security researcher at the Cloud Division of Unit 42, has identified a critical server vulnerability in widespread cloud native registry called Harbor. The vulnerability allows attackers to take over Harbor registries, sending them a malicious request. Sorry, I got hiccups. The maintainers at Harbor released a patch which closes critical security vulnerability holes in 1.76 and 183 to include this fix. But
1,300 of these are out in the world right now. Mm-hmm. So be nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well,
I know some of these companies.
You might have seen one of these companies, right?
I know a few of these.
Ever heard of Trend Micro? OnStar?
I've seen a few.
Well, so that's OnStar China.
Mm-hmm.
That's OnStar China. It's different, but look at Rancher. That's huge. Look at Pivotal. That's huge. Look at 360.
Yep.
That's huge.
Big companies
These
in the
are
name here.
Huge companies, bro. This is like this is no joke.
Yeah. So definitely out there, if you're running it, hopefully you're already patched. But some messy stuff out there.
Oh, I'm guaranteeing that they're not going to patch this in time.
Yeah. Well, nobody does. God, we were talking about just how many thousands of unpatched XM is out there.
Yeah.
It's just everywhere. Speaking of patching, completely passive, by the way. I was, me and Xavier had a conversation about some of the MSPs, and I'm like, I'm sorry, guys. You got to do something about this stuff. Like,
I don't know what you're talking about, Tom.
I'm trying to figure out the moral implications. Like, should I contact them and like, your ass is hanging out in the wind right now? Like, you got exposed RDP.
Or, yeah.
You've been Shodan. Like, any of these people I bring up are Shodan. I did not look for them. I found them on Shodan and finding MSPs. By the way, if you're wondering how that works, thank you for having security certificates with your name in it, because your name's in the security certificate. So when you're looking for CVEs and then you find out an MSP is in there, like, I'm not searching you and then finding it. The opposite is happening. You can find the CVE and go, holy, this is attached to an MSP. Look at the websites in there. And why are they doing it? Why aren't they just using a Let's Encrypt cert? Well, they'll go further. They're running old Windows servers because a lot of people like Screen Connect. And I've been just looking at different Screen Connect installs because it's been a pivot point. I did a proof of concept to show as
you're talking about your how to hack MSPs video.
Yeah.
How to hack MSPs using Screen Connect. I actually will have to go and buy a Screen Connect license now, because that is the most powerful tool.
Yes.
It is a great post-exploitation tool. It's like command and control on steroids.
It's a fault of our industry. We wanted to be more efficient. We wanted to be as efficient as possible. So we built powerful tools to make us efficient.
Once it costs a few grand, it's nothing to a hacker.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, the first ransomware pays for it.
What? Part. The smallest part.
The smallest part. So it's interesting. And it also has me a little bit worried, and I know people are testing this heavily. I keep our Screen Connect completely patched and up to date. And I see MSPs crybabying about this, going, oh, no, I got to pay all these license fees and renewals. I'm like, I pay them too.
Roll that into the cost of your business. What are you doing?
I
have to pay for Burp Suite. I have to pay for Tenable. I I have to pay for stuff too, and that's
Yeah.
the reason why I charge money.
And I'm not trying to pick on the person because thankfully I think that was a smart move. They called us, they wanted to help, and we seen that their Screen Connect was grossly out of date, running on a really old server. And I told them the server because I couldn't even validate whether or not that server had ever been compromised. I said, dude, this thing is so unpatched.
Nuke pave.
Yeah, so what I did was I backed up their database for them, and I said, because the database is a database, I just took all the data from Screen
Mind you,
Connect.
this is another MSP.
Yeah, and I'm
They
happy
can't
they
even
reached out to me.
admin their own. Oh my god.
I'm not picking on them for that. Most
No,
things you outsource. If there's a task, and this is me as well. If there's a task I can't do, we got tasked for a big project that exceeds the scope of my talent pool that I have directly employed. I have a trusted partner that does happen to do this. They wanted a very specific setup with an AWS cloud thing for managed desktop with Azure managed desktop. I'm not an expert at that. I could muddle my way through it, but they have an expertise because they set up all the time, and I outsource them. You outsource pieces you don't know. You don't muddle through it. You don't insecurely set this up, especially because the particular person asked me has some really specific requests. So I have a partner, local, that we worked with on these projects. They're really talented at it. We've used them many times, and I'm friends with the owner, like personal friends with the guy. You find someone like that you hire to keep your infrastructure up to date and solid. That's how you do it.
And then you call me so I can break it.
Yeah, and then when you're done, you then have a third party evaluate it. Again, this is like the whole process procedure and how business works and how you build these.
Oh, hey, he's talking about me.
Yeah.
Hey, Brett. You have doxed yourself.
Yeah.
Mr. Lovell.
Oh, yeah. You're exactly what I'm talking about. Like
Oh, I'm not the MSP.
He's not the MSP. Brett's not the MSP. Brett.
You're the good person.
Yeah, he had a project, and we have someone we work with hand in hand on stuff. There's someone that I know the entire team very well. They're great people. We've worked with them, and I even, matter of fact, Brett talked to them like directly. I don't hide the fact that it's not directly Tom Lawrence doing it. I know I've played with it. I know these guys know how to secure it top to bottom. Like, that's what they do. They've done many deployments with it. So you scope it out to them. They're going to cross all the I's, dot all the T's, and then we'll poke at it at the end to make sure. I'll still look over all the work they do and validate everything. This is just the process that any MSP should be following to make sure everything stays secure. It's just a whole, I don't know, it's a whole security cycle.
That boy getting tipsy off that tea, ain't he?
Ooh, yeah.
It's just tea in my cup. I'm not drinking.
Mo's not the
Boy
whiskey
sipping
consumer.
that Texas tea
Yeah.
over there.
But these are just important aspects of it. You know, in Brett's talk, he's looking at a really secure design. He had a really good idea for what he wants to do. This is which he's following good security hygiene here. Came in, did proposals, implementation. This is just the process and life cycle of tightening up your security and putting it all in right.
Security is fun.
It's fun. It is a lot of work.
It's one of those things that you can't brag about because people want to go test you on it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's something that it's like insurance. Like, you don't get car insurance and go speeding like, I don't care, I got insurance.
Right.
Like, cybersecurity is like the thing that you do. It's like prayer. Like, it's the thing you do that you don't advertise. It's like giving back to the homeless. It's something you have to do. It's something you just do. It's hygienic. Mm-hmm. I don't get points for brushing my teeth, washing my face, washing my hair. My illustrious curls.
Yeah.
You don't get credit for this type of stuff, right? There's no merit. There's no award show for companies that are doing the best security.
No.
It's a private
You get to
thing.
not be in the news.
You get to not be in the news. You get to keep your reputation, right? These are the upsides to doing security. So I think that since it's not as glamorous, security is not a glamorous thing to do, and it's expensive on top of not being glamorous.
Very much
I'd
so.
rather spend that same amount of money on my new front end, and then when I get owned, at least I only lose a little bit of my customer base.
Tom and his Tesla racing Mustangs. Yeah. I shouldn't post some of the stuff on Facebook because my insurance provider is a friend on Facebook. I spanked that Mustang bad though. I won't lie. Got him 3 times. It was fun. I want that new Tesla bad. I'm gonna buy the Roadster. My goal 2 years buy the Roadster.
The Roadster? Oh.
I'm gonna make some real money.
I want a Model X, but I don't think I can afford it, I'll be honest. Somebody book me for a meeting.
Yeah, someone must need a full stack application review, like back to back to back to back.
Ooh, wee.
I'm gonna need that many. I'm gonna need at least 10 to be able to afford
10 of them, yeah. You gotta pre-book him for 10
There you go.
full stack application tests.
And then I get a Model X for my name, and I will let you drive it.
Yeah, or Or just get him to Model X and he'll do so many back-to-back pen testings.
Now, see, I don't know. I get a little scared. They might be like, listen, here's a list of IPs. Call me when it's done. You know, like Grand Theft Auto style. You just like, damn. And you know, you got that black truck sitting out front. Like,
I'm simple. I just want the Model S.
That's more expensive than the X.
No, it's not.
If you get the Ludicrous, they're about the same. They're within a few dollars of each other.
I don't know.
You
about to be spending a whole 130.
The best one, actually one of the best values is going to be the Model 3 Performance, because that's about, if you load it all up, Model 3 Performance, other than the low
Performante.
Yeah, you're talking about 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, 310-mile range, but a sticker price of about $60-something.
But I'm 6'3", so I'm getting a truck because I can't do cars.
Yeah. The SUV, it's definitely more comfortable.
I just need to be comfy.
Yeah.
I literally don't need to go fast. I drive a fast truck right now. The Model X is faster than that fast truck. So, like, I'm good until my next truck. Then it's like a Lamborghini truck or something. Yeah, we're ramping it up, all right? Yeah. If I'm going to get up to 100-something thousand, we need to get to 200-something thousand after that.
Yep. OpenVAS is, I see No Self posted this on here.
OpenVAS.
And Dwayne asked the same question about how do you test your own apps. One of them for external, Shodan's next to nothing.
Shodan is super easy to see if you have
external.
If you have anything exposed on your network.
Right.
So you can like punch your IP address into it, and they have a service that's called Network Monitor, and it literally just monitors.
I use
network.
It's great.
It's amazing. Anytime something comes on the internet, they send you an email.
Yeah, they send you an email, and it's a service that's like $50 one-time fee or $100 something like that.
I think I pay $50 for a lifetime fee.
Yeah, $50 for a lifetime. It's really cheap to use Shodan. That's for external testing. Internally, you can use things like OpenVAS. It comes built into Parrot or Kali, and you go through, it's a next and yes your way through it. Then they have a wizard with some of the worst graphics ever. I won't lie. You ever looked at the graphics for it?
OpenVAS?
Yeah.
Greenbone is really terrible. Greenbone Security didn't invest any money in their
graphics
at all.
It's so cheesy.
It's like it's literally 1996.
Yeah.
It's useful, though. I've used it, and it is a useful tool, especially if you don't want to pay for it.
Yeah, it's a free tool that does a pretty good job.
Tenable is awesome. I use Tenable.io. I like the cloud version where you can just hand the agent off to somebody and they link using your key. I think that's extremely useful. And then you can do an internal and external scan, but it's expensive. It's like I might be paying 3 Gs a year for 65 IPs.
Yeah. So someone's gonna laugh at this. I'm not joking.
Yeah.
That girl.
Her.
That's her. She is like in the wizard for all the stuff. There's like the cheesiest looking graphics in it. It's so funny.
This is like when you read Harry Potter. This is what you expect.
Like
one of the characters to look.
It's like a children's cartoon. Like all these little characters. She runs the wizard. For the setup on there. Yep. You're kind of like, really, guys? That's I don't know. I laugh every time I see it. It's hard to take a product that looks like that serious, but trust me, if you're a hacker, this is the type of things you do. Because someone told me I'm immature for putting stickers on my laptop like a child. I've seen someone post that on YouTube, and I'm like, yes, absolutely. Yeah. Xavier's sharing his thoughts on exactly the same thing. So I know it's part of just a persona, a thing that when you run OpenVAS, tongue-in-cheek, it's funny. We got this cheesy cartoons on there, but the tool is real. The tool is solid. It does what it says it does. It actually, the problem I've run into, it maybe a little bit high on the false positives, but it worked. It helped me find.
There's also things that it'll miss. Let's be clear. Yeah. There's things that it'll miss, but for free. Right, we just talked about a $3,000 tool. We're talking about a $0 tool that's included in Kali.
Yeah, a $0 tool.
Also, if you're going to set it up, you need to make sure that you look at the screen for the password because it is outside of the buffer. And I was told this. Yeah. And I looked at the screen and it went right past.
It went right
out of the buffer. I was like, wait, hold on,
hold up.
I couldn't get it. I forget how I hacked my way back in.
There's a way to do it.
Oh, I changed the password on the CLI.
Yeah, there's a way you can push a new password through the CLI. I think that's the first thing everyone does if they set up OpenVAS is Google how to reset the password and scroll past the buffer.
See, but it's an open source project. This is opportunity. If you get really excited about OpenVAS, go and fix that problem for us. Yeah. Make it so that that's the last thing that pops up on the prompt. It shouldn't be too much harder, right? Yeah. It's already a variable in the runtime. Just print it out at the end. Done.
Yeah. there's ways to improve that,
Yep.
and that's a cool way to do it. Another way to do some of the testing is just look at all the things that you run, like run Nmap. Or let's go a step further, run ZenMap, because that's got a whole UI in front of it. You can know even less. Choose intensive scan. Choose all the devices on your local network. Look at the list, and if anything makes your head scratch, going, I don't think SSH was open on that. Now you have something to look at. By the way, keeping your system patched and up to date, that alone solves the majority of all the problems.
Unless you have like jet plans, then they're going to use the 0 days for you. But if you're like me, and I don't have any jet plans, I'll be clear about that. They're probably not going to use 0 days to get on my computer. I don't keep access keys. I LastPass everything. The most dirty thing, and I was just talking to Fendrick Stinks. What up, though? I was just talking to him about this. The worst thing that's on your computer is a browser. It is petrifyingly scary. It has my LastPass. Like I don't log out of LastPass every single time I close my browser.
Right.
I don't log out of my YouTube, my Google, my Facebook, my emails, anything immediately when I close my browser. So if a person is, on my machine for whatever reason, right, because they use the 0 day to get on, my browser is going to be the thing that crushes me.
Yeah, we were just table talking security here with my team earlier today because we were redesigning our VPN. That's why Xavier says, well, you're redoing everything and reinitializing all your TLS keys and da-da-da.
All the fun stuff.
All the fun stuff that I might have looked for in an old laptop.
Because I've been tightening the screws on old Tom, like, hey, when you going to let me on the network? And he's like, yeah, tomorrow. And tomorrow turned into, like, today.
Yeah, it did. I think it was last week.
Yeah, it was last week.
So... Yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, I always am second guessing myself constantly, and trying to up the level. And then one of the good things, and they brought this up in the data thing that I brought in the very beginning, was table talking amongst your team. If you're a team, if you're just one person, just walk through all the scenarios that you can think of, and just kind of walk through this. Watch all the DEF CON talks and watch how they walk through something. If you're a solo person, just trying to poke at it harder. Generally speaking, just don't expose anything. That's the first rule. Keep it all in your local network. You're just way less likely to be compromised on your local network. It usually starts with an extraneal vulnerability and extraction exposure. That's
I like to have everything local, and then I install a 0 tier on it, and then I get to it that way.
Yeah.
Done. It's using my public internet, but with a private IP address. Mm-hmm. You really can't beat that.
Yeah.
It's like I got RDP on the edge, as long as this client has 0 tier as well.
Right.
Because I'm just like, 172 dot whatever, and bam, RDP works. Mm-hmm. Woohoo.
So that's definitely really important to think about. It's just, if you're constantly thinking about it, constantly up against it, and I think and there's something about a hacker's pride, and when someone says, I'm hack-proof,
yeah, don't do that.
One, makes me want to punch you. Two, because I seen someone say hack-proof this, and it was a title of something they're writing. I'm like, no. I told them it was a bad title. I right away, like, it's a bad title.
Don't do it.
Hack-proof. Oh, tell me anyone. Just announce yourself hack-proof. That's all you got to do.
I'd rather you say I'm operating in assumed breach mode.
Right.
Right. Like I'm operating as if I'm already breached, and I don't want, I don't want to take it any more serious than where I'm just assuming that the Russian hackers have my computer. Mm-hmm. I'd rather you take that stance than to take the stance of, oh, I'm unhackable. I'm impenetrable.
Anybody can be hacked.
And this is one of those things, and one of the things we're going to go to, it means Xavier going to do some security auditing on. One of the things we do for some of our documentation is we have a system that I've really been working on and fuzzing against, but we have a system that is locked down to only certain IP addresses can even access it. It's on a physically separate network, not even a VLAN, so there's no VLAN hopping.
It's a completely separate network.
Yeah, I put it on a completely separate network. That's how we handle our documentation. Physical separation. Then, to go a step further, it has two-factor, even though only certain IPs, and it's not accessible from the internet ever. So, two-factor on it. So, username, high-entropy password, and two-factor authentication, and complete logging of every IP that touches it with all those restrictions. And the only ports open are the ports necessary to make it work. And I still want it audited that I don't know if I did enough, because I'm not just tinfoil hat. I want to make sure that the places I keep documents are not easily accessible.
Right.
So there's little things like that, just going through and building
because the documents are the keys to the castle.
That's where the keys to the castle may be. What else we got here before we wandered off into operational security talk, which is not a bad thing at all. Bleeping computer. What do we got here? The Tortoise Shell.
Oh, yeah.
The Tortoise Shell.
Oh, yes. These people. These are not the people in which we think they are, right? So I made the assumption that they came up with a name for all of the latest MSP breaches, but it seems like that is not the case.
Group uses custom malware and public tools. Security researchers at Symantec identified 11 organizations that had been hit by Tortoise Shell. Most of these targets are based in Saudi Arabia, and at least in 2 cases, there are enough clues to conclude that the attacker had privilege of a domain administrator, which come across all systems on a network. Now, this is not the MSP hacker. When I seen the article when Xavier said, I did the same thing. I'm like, hey, this is the group that must be doing all of those MSP hacks that we're seeing. Because there has not been any attribution of name to all these latest.
Or location. It's just like, this MSP got hacked.
23, was it 23 places in Texas, 400 dental offices hacked. Each one of these are using the same methodology.
And we're not getting any name for it.
No one's bragging. That's weird.
Yeah, that is really strange.
That's actually a different group.
Yeah.
That's a different type of group.
That could be like a local group. That could be someone local to America that are just like, yep, I'm done.
That is, half the time hackers get caught is because they won't shut up. Yes. That's just a fact. It's not even OPSEC that catches them.
If I ever get caught, it's because of how they got hacked. Facts.
Yeah.
You said it here.
You wanted to brag about the exploit. But so this is, I don't want to use the word copycat, but they're specifically targeting Saudi Arabia, targeting same thing. It's the same concept of the attack. They target the supply chain. They target the service providers with gaining access to these other companies. But it's crazy. It has a name and everything else. But the American one, man, it's blowing my mind. Because even at Dado Talk, they have no attribution. They talk about all the methods and everything, but they do not talk about the people doing it because they don't have a clue. They don't have a common way they can identify them. They don't have, other than the fact that the people doing these MSP hacks know the tools.
Yeah.
Yep. It's almost like they're an ex-MSP,
Yes. I actually think one of my strongest things about this is that they're not a traditional hacker. They're someone who worked either as a security consultant and go, man, I tried to secure all these MSPs. Fuck them. I almost feel like someone that attitude, you know what I mean? Like flipped it on them, going, I tried telling them, they wouldn't pay me. They said, some guy with a vendetta, some girl, whoever it is, some bad actor with a vendetta. It's still wrong they're doing it. But think about this. They went around and, because I got to admit, I'm not going nefarious here, but I see these MSPs with fully exposed RDP, usernames exposed, they're running version 5 of SSH. One person was in one of the forums. I'm like, really? Really? You haven't patched since version 5? We're at version 7.2 P1, I think. It's the latest version. Like, you are years behind on this stuff. And as a security consultant, like, you kind of get mad because you're an MSP going, how do you have 3,000, 4,000 clients? You're not even you run like a half-ass MSP shop in there, but you got a strong sales team. And we try to say, hey, why don't you spend a little money on security? And you're like, nah, I'm not. You want money for this. How about I give you, minimum wage to come secure my network? And okay, I'll just flip it on you. I don't know. I feel more like that might be what's going on here. It's sad. I don't think it's right. I think it's completely wrong, but it's the only way I can think of, because anyone in the hacker realm, anyone I've known in that, they can't shut up. That is a real hard time.
I mean, when you find something juicy, it's like, ooh, I gotta tell somebody.
You gotta tell. Guess what I did? Because they're not in it for the money. The real hackers I know, they're not in it for the money. Money, they need to fuel the riot occasionally, but it's not the goal. The goal is the taking it down, the building the pyramid, the attacking the unattackable, the pride thing in it, the trophy on the wall I got over the wall. That is more a driver, like 10 times, 100 times more driver than the monetary gains that may be made from it. So I don't know. I think that's the MSP attacks in a nutshell. That's my opinion. I could be completely wrong, but I'm speculating.
Just smartened up, like, if I hit the MSP, I have a wider range of victims than just
and they know. Matter of fact, I know a couple of people. We have a couple IT companies, or IT people we work with that are internal IT that used to work for some of the MSPs, and they're just like, dude, I had to get out of there. That place is like. There was a good post on Reddit. A guy assisted me. He got burned out. They were trying to lay everything on him, but he said, I've been gone a year, and my friend who still works there, I said, did they ever change the passwords when I left? He's like, no. Everything is the same. Company name and just the digits off their address. That was all their password schema was. He goes, how we haven't been breached is completely beyond me. He goes, because so many people, he goes, they were talking about how many like no one has lasted at that company more than like 6 months. It was some MSP. It's a good read on our sysadmin a while back, and I just kind of laughed because the guy was like, they thought it was a good idea to use company name and just the address, numbers off their address is like a common password schema for everything. That way you didn't have to have documentation. That was like their answer. Now you always know what the admin password is. You can just look up what the company name is. And they're like,
why do people do this to themselves?
Yeah. Because the guy who owned the business was making all kinds of money, and he was just hard on his employees, and that was the whole concept of it.
That doesn't make sense.
Well, and some of these MSPs turned into, I joke because we're having waffles in the morning. We try to run a more relaxed environment here. I try to have an environment that people want to hang out. We still maintain security, but I'm not trying to beat everybody up because I'm not trying to maximize profits to the point where everyone hates you. There comes a point in business where if I tried to make the most money and try to make sure every second of every day that my employees were doing something that was billable, at some point they go, fuck this place.
Yeah.
And many people have worked for people like that where they try to maximize every second of opportunity you're there. And those are also places that if you leave at 5, at 4:59, you're like, your laptop's half closed. You're like, click. I'm getting out of this place. I am turning my phone off. I don't exist for the next 12 hours until I'm back here.
Nuts.
So lazy, incompetence, money first, security later. That would be another way to describe some of those businesses. So it's unfortunate. Well, let's go to another article here. We only got a couple more left.
People at MSPs are just
No, we got a whole second page.
Oh, we got a whole second page. Oh, we gotta go fast through some of these.
Yep.
We'll be here all night. Secret FBI subpoenas scoop up personal data from scores of companies. Ooh, that sounds bad.
It is really bad.
The FBI used secret subpoenas. See, I don't even like the concept of secret subpoenas. It's not that we shouldn't have things like FISA courts and stuff like that in due process. But I think this gets abused very quickly. Yep. And I have a feeling that's what this article is about. Yep. And I didn't even read it yet. Xavier posted this one.
It sucks. It's like, what do you have to worry about? Blah, 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 blah. It's not about being worried. It's about respect. Like, I don't read their emails. Why must they read my emails?
Exactly.
Right? Like, let's make it even. If you want to start investigating me, let me investigate some dirty cops. They're dirty cops.
Yeah.
Like let's play the game. Let's play the game so that everyone can play the game. Let's not just make it like my government is being totalitarian towards me. Like, that's just not fun.
Right.
Sorry.
So, specifically, the documents obtained by Electronic Frontier Foundation through the Freedom of Information Act lawsuit shared with the New York Times to shed light on the scope of the demands. More than 120 companies and other entities were included in the filing and raised questions about the effectiveness of a 2015 law that was intended to increase transparency around them. This is a pretty potent authority for the government, said Stephen Vladeck, a law professor at the University of Texas who specializes in national security. The question is, do we have a right to know when the government is collecting information about us? And my personal opinion is yes. So
we're talking about literally 500,000 secret subpoenas issued.
Yes.
From 2015 to now. And we're only examining 750 of them.
Yeah, a very small one. So it is crazy. And someone pointed out corporate America. You're not exactly wrong, but there's a massive abuse of power. And it comes easily. It comes easily to them because once they have that power, it inches forward to the point where it's just become part of the culture that they have there of abuse of power. And this is where Edward Snowden, which I'm excited, by the way, his book is on my reading list. For those wondering, I have not had a chance to read it yet. My goal is I'll probably binge it this weekend. So what am I doing this weekend? Reading Edward Snowden's book. But it's very important to think about this, that it's not that I think they're necessarily bad people. It becomes a culture of power. They have power over us. We've even seen at the local authority levels, they abuse this power. Matter of fact, if you want to understand failures in government, there is generally more corruption in your local government than there is in Washington. As much as you may say, wow, there's a lot of things going on in Washington, Washington's actually under a lot of scrutiny all the time, and things come out. They are always trying to do something in secret, and especially lately, it's becoming very transparent. Things are going in Washington, but this ramps up further at your local government where there's just not, we don't have barely local newspapers anymore. There's not enough interest in it. And if you broke a story on my local city, which by the way it is, our current mayor is under indictment. So I'm not in Detroit, by the way. The Detroit mayor's not in indictment. We did have that happen though, so that's a whole different topic.
Yeah, it's a whole different topic.
But it's news for a minute.
This goes back to the why do people hate Detroit talk.
Yeah, because we did have an indicted mayor. But it's one of those things that it's more difficult for some of the local ones, but it comes all the way back around. of these cultures that abuse power, they're going to occur. We have to constantly be more transparent. I'm on the side of transparency on there. I know they will always argue they hamper their investigation. I have a friend who works directly for Homeland Security, and one of the things he shared with me that I thought was really interesting is they've made it so difficult for him to release information that he frequently puts the top secret button on all the time because the difficulty of making things transparent is hard. So they've set the standard of, hey, here's all the paperwork you do if you want to make this information public. Because we were talking about a raid that happened here that he was actually part of. I knew the inside of it to some extent, allegedly. I'm not, trying to dox the guy or anything like that. But he says, how hard my papers. I had like 35 forms. I'd spend 2 hours of work filling out forms to release a really bullshit case that the news made a big deal because we did it as a secret. It wasn't really secret. This XYZ thing was happening, but for me to release it to public information is me staying overtime for 2 hours and filling paperwork out. So I slapped the top secret button on it. We told the news it was secret. They ran with the story. Whatever. No comment is all we can say. And now I'm here drinking beer.
Yeah.
So, it goes, if I didn't want to do this, I'd have to not drink beer to share with you that this dumb thing happened that this guy did that caught on Homeland Security's radar enough to cause a raid, but it wasn't really that big of a deal. And it's we need better government. Hopefully we'll get it. So EFF is definitely on our side.
I don't think we will.
By the way, please note the sticker that did make it on there. I'm not going to zoom in right now. It says EFF. That's because I give money to those people. It says if you own it, you pwn it. That is the sticker that I chose to put on this laptop so far. But I am a donor to both the Tor Project, EFF, and Darknet Diaries. I support things I like. I support freedoms I like. Darknet Diaries is also because I like the stories. Jack Resider, awesome. So, anyways, back over here to another story. What else?
Yeah.
Holy crap! You guys loaded this up.
Just a couple. Just a couple. Just quick stories.
All right, Xavier's going to talk about this one a little bit. State employees authorized this. What we talked about last time. Court pentesters urged sheriff not to make a burglary arrest. So this is where the state.
This is sheriff. This wasn't deputy. This was sheriff.
Yeah, they were. So the backstory is, if you didn't watch this last week, these guys were contacted by the state to do a pen test. State authorities are different than municipal authorities. Municipal authorities decided, local county authority, I guess this would be, county sheriff, decided to not to obey the state's orders that say, hey, we hired these guys. And they go in a state, the municipality, the sheriff says, we didn't. And kick it from here, Xavier.
And so basically, this is an occupational hazard of what I do for a living, which is red teaming. So basically, what I get tasked with looks very much like breaking and entering, burglary, corporate espionage, and very much so just like any other cyber crime, right? Wire fraud, etc. So I end up basically reading this article and finding myself feeling extremely disappointed in the justice system because these two dudes actually had a get out of free jail card. They showed this to the arresting officer, who then showed this to the sheriff. The sheriff actually made a phone call to some of the names that were on the list, which were varying ranking members of the state. And what happened was the sheriff decided that the state was not does not have the jurisdiction to be able to pen test or do any kind of assessment or have any kind of authority over a county courthouse, because I guess the county and the state is separate. And so was begged basically by these state officials to release these men and let them know that that they weren't there for malicious reasons, etc. But they end up getting booked, put on a $50,000 bond. I think they both bonded out. They work for a company called Coalfire, and what they were charged with, let me see if I can find it here. Looks like just burglary so far. I'll have to go dig a little bit deeper, but yeah, it's pretty sad. So the actual unredacted contract is out and about if you want to go and read and look at what that contract actually looks like.
Yeah. So
seems like they just didn't really understand exactly what they were buying.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And like I said, these people are military veterans. These are well-seasoned veterans of pen testing. They're not average. This is clearly just a conflict, and they're caught up in essentially a political conflict of whose turf is it?
Yeah.
Does the state own it? Can the state authorize this? And unfortunately, these guys are just caught up in the middle of it. That's bottom line.
Pretty sad. They got 2 charges: one third-degree burglary, the other of burglary, possession of burglary tools.
Yeah.
I guess they had under-the-door tools, lock picks, all the essentials for you being able to get into any rooms.
Yeah, and this is what you want to do as a pen tester, is you're going to have these tools with you. You're going to have some lockpicks with you. You're going to do that. It is certainly a risk of the job. You don't expect this to happen to you. You don't expect you to be the middle of a turf war, essentially, between the state and the sheriff.
Caught up in bureaucracy.
Yeah, it's not a good case now that we understand more what's going on there.
It's pretty sad because the state employee on the phone went ahead and told the sheriff, hey, don't let other sheriffs know about this. Mm-hmm. And he said, no. I'm going to tell every sheriff, right? So this is a sheriff that is just extremely non-satisfied with, I guess, the entire process of being pen tested.
Yeah, didn't
like it. Doesn't matter because these dudes will probably end up getting scot-free, get this wiped off their record. It just sucks because when you look at their pictures, they're wearing the orange jumpsuits. Right, that means that they've already gone through processing. That means that they had to squat and cough. That means that they had to deal with the blood and the spit and the shit and all that other stuff that's inside the damn shower before you get to even get those clothes. So like they went through, this is traumatic. We're talking about people who have great backgrounds, people who work really hard and are diligent in their job and literally did everything that their employer asked them to do.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's craziness. So,
let's craziness.
Jump over a couple more articles here. This is something Mo brought up. DEF CON 21, The Secret Life of SIM Cards. Well, that's his show notes here, but it's a little more in-depth talk about the secret life of SIM cards.
And all the things you can do with SIM cards. It's pretty awesome. I watched this and was blown away. I didn't know myself.
So were the attackers.
Oh, exactly.
It sounds like the FBI will be paying you a visit, my friend.
Yeah, and by the way, this has, and I like, this is a DEF CON talk is clearly popular and probably brought up again popular. This is published in November of 2013. So this has been, this person's ringing the bell basically 5-6 years ago going, hey guys, you know what? Well, just about,
awesome things.
It's been like 6 years now. Because DEF CON would have happened before. They published it in November. So this talk was 6 years ago now. 6 years of this information being out there. So
it's a really great talk. Watch it, please.
Yeah, watch that. It'll be in the show notes. Database leak data on most of Ecuador's citizens, including 6.7 million children.
Oh, boy.
Ecuador. How does that happen where an entire location
loses it? So Elasticsearch server leaks personal data.
Yep.
Now, we have covered, I don't know how many times. Have we had an episode?
As many times that we've talked about ransomware, Elastic Cache have been brought up.
Elastic is an amazing stack to do Elasticsearch. It's an amazing tool for searching and indexing, but quit publicly exposing it.
Yes.
It's always the same thing. I don't. Before I scroll down, was it a misconfigured Elasticsearch server, probably set to public? Let's find out.
20.8 million user records says yes.
Yep.
Right.
Oh, the Elasticsearch server contained approximately a leaky server right here. A leaky server. So, is it just leaky elastic? That's what it should be called. No one knows how to configure this. Everyone knows how. I can't say that. No one knows how to configure it securely. Everyone seems to get that point where they set up an Elasticsearch, but they don't know about that part.
I feel like if I was Elastic, I wouldn't even. I would just go out of business. I would just stop making my product. It's hurting people more than it's helping people at this point.
Sometimes I wonder.
We're talking about 21 million people data records. Bro, this is your fault. You make this tool.
No.
Where are your consultants?
Do you blame GM for all the car crashes?
I blame them for the what you call it?
Well, the bad ignitions.
The bad ignitions.
Yeah.
Right? This is user error. AWS has what's called a shared responsibility model.
Okay.
They are still partly responsible for helping people not misconfigure their product. It's giving their product a bad name.
Isn't it open source?
I think Elastic is a company.
Okay, Elastic is a company.
I'm not sure if it's Elasticsearch or Elastic Cache, which one Elastic does, but I'm pretty sure Elastic does both of them.
Probably.
Pretty sure search and cache are basically the same thing. It's a bunch of indexed files.
Yeah. It's a great system. It's also people don't configure it securely.
Yep.
Ring and its doorbell cameras have partnered with over 400 police departments.
Boo.
Yeah.
Yes, this is reminiscent
Yes,
of the green
Elastic.co
lights.
owns
I
Elasticsearch.
think our rights have been eroded more in the guise of security than anything else.
Yeah.
That's always
And literally in the last 18 years, our freedoms have gone away.
so many of them are.
Another 20 will go away.
It always starts with security. We want a security, or especially if they throw the word children anywhere. That's always,
Safety? Done.
Safety, children, security is always the call sign for when they want to start this. And this is Ring's been in here a couple times, and I kind of get the idea, but we also need to make sure we have clear guidelines around this. We've talked about the Project Greenlight many times on here. We need to do a deep dive into that at some point. Maybe if they ever talked about it, I'm going to come to Detroit. Maybe it's this weekend or something. Maybe we'll sit down and we're going to do a little bit more concise video on it, especially now that more has come to light about the Detroit Greenlight Project and more rules. But these are, once again, you're giving a lot of powerful tools to people who may have cultures of abuse of power, which cause some of these problems because now they can see all kinds of things
That they couldn't see before.
they couldn't see before. And especially scares me. We had a couple cases, and like I said, this is not something that makes national news. This is directly in the city I live in. We had cases where police officers, and I'm not picking on them, but I'm saying we had police officers. One of them was charged because he was harassing his ex-wife's, anyone she dated.
Oh.
He would harass her because he had access to the police database, and he would use that to, shake down people. It's like, really? And it was hard to catch the guy, and it was obviously terrifying for her because how does she go to the police? She lives in a city where the cop that's doing it is doing it. Like, how you have to, it requires like an FBI investigation, and then you have to get the FBI's attention to even do it. They're like, we're busy. There's a lot of other dumb shit going on.
Exactly.
We're abusing powers over here, surveillancing people. We don't got time for what's going on in your city. We're abusing our powers over here.
God damn it.
I
It just made me so anxious.
I-
That story made me anxious.
Doesn't it?
It's literally what I just told my parents that would happen. And they're like, you don't have nothing to worry about. You're not doing anything bad.
See,
and I'm
that's
like,
what everyone's sentiment is, but it's like, that's not the point. The point is we're being surveyed.
Yeah, and we're being surveyed. And don't get me wrong, and I'm calling out the city I live in, not the city I'm in now, because now that I moved my building out of the goddamn city, Jesus, I need to make that story somehow. Not that I don't even care. Other than I'm some guy with a YouTube channel, I can post it. When you open a business in a city, and if you want to know how bad it is, there was an article years ago about a barber shop. And the city had harassed him to the point where he showed up to the city council meeting to plead his case of them doing something that was hurting his business. I don't remember exactly, but it was a zoning commission. It was a long-time business. Once they declined it, he accepted, and then he grabbed a gun, and in front of city council, he shot himself. Wow. Because he said, you've ended my business, I'm ending my life, and that was his last words. And I will tell you, as someone who, I'm not to that point at all, this isn't where that story's going, that's really dark, I will tell you, it took me 2 months to open my business because an overzealous asshole harassed the living shit out of me before he would let me open my business. I was able to, start my business and deal with him. And by the way, when we got a new mayor, they fired the guy. He had 3 lawsuits that the city had brought against him for doing this to other businesses. He basically was just an ass who abused his power and got himself violently in trouble and fired. But these are some of the things when these people have power over you, it's kind of helplessness. Like, I'm trying to open a business, I got all this money sent out, and I had to wait almost 2 months to open because this guy decided he wanted to harass me over dumb shit. And he wouldn't come back out and inspect until he was done with it. It's just crazy.
You fucking find where the guy lives, take his ECU out, throw it in the microwave. Why doesn't my car work anymore?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, don't do that.
I'm going to quit ranting about depressing things.
Right, because you're about to make me tell people how to get back at assholes. And I really don't mind doing that at all. Right? Like, go find that dude, take the stems out of his tire valves. Done. Finish. Blood on flats. He's sitting there pumping, can't figure out why the air keep coming out. Should have just let me have a
whole
business.
other offline
now you can't even get to
conversation
work.
we can have, too.
Now you can't even get to work to harass me.
Right.
And I'm making a 7 o'clock in the morning meeting when I do this at 4 o'clock in the morning outside your house. Of
course you
so
are.
you will never make it to my meeting. And then I'm going to complain loudly. Is this your guy? I want another guy.
Yeah. By the way, if you want to know how corrupt the city I am, like, our city has not been able to stay out of the news. Just
Bro,
look up
his city pulled me over and gave me $100 parking ticket.
There's so many stories. The machine that runs that city is crazy.
Man, it's pretty bad.
Data of 24.3 million Lumen PDF users shared on hacking forum.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit a while ago.
Yeah, Lumen PDF, a little-known cloud-based service that lets users view, edit, and share PDF files using a web-based dashboard inside a browser extension via the company's mobile apps. Yeah, that's kind of scary.
I share this for two reasons. One, the database is being dumped, so watch out for password spraying. And for two, it happened because a hacker tried to tell them about this problem, and they didn't listen. And so now he just put the database up for sale.
This goes back to our earlier conversation about hacker pride. You thwarted the hacker. You ignored him. He's like, I got you.
You weren't supposed to download the database, bro.
No, the hacker did wrong, but why?
It's not about listening to me or not. I proved to you that I could get access to your database. You didn't listen to me? Cool. I want to move on to another bounty.
The database was unprotected for 5 months. He told them for 5 months straight.
Dude, he tried longer than most people would.
But then he downloaded it.
He did.
Yeah. He shouldn't have.
And that's a felony. There's a difference between going to go see something's open and then actually using that service. Mm-hmm. Hopefully this dude didn't use his real name when he was doing all these communications, because he's going to get a knock on the door from the FBI. They're going to follow up with this. The FBI loves to follow up on stuff like this.
Yeah, with that many, 24.3 million.
You're talking a lot of records, bro. That's a large swath.
And what do people have on there? They upload PDF records because they need to update, mortgage and personal information. So,
business applications and contracts and job applications.
Lots of personal stuff.
Oh yeah, come on now.
There's actually a good
tax documents.
I'm a participator, as you are, in open directories and Reddit, and I thought one of them was interesting. You've probably seen the person with a post. They didn't post the directory, but they said, "I just found an open directory with a lot of resumes, but I don't even know who the company is that has it." Yeah, you've seen that.
Yeah, I've
seen that. It was a good
Yeah.
discussion of that,
And
because
that information. Ooh,
it's a lot of resumes. That's a lot of personal information out there you have about people. And
for people that are interested in social engineering, these are the tools.
You suddenly have a lot of info about the people in those resumes, and that is a pivot point to potentially attacking those people. One, they're looking for a job. Two, what job they may be looking for. So you may have some staging information. And I think I talked.
Name, the previous work history.
For those of you that weren't here for the first episode,
it's just public on LinkedIn too.
A red team told me one of the scariest hacks, though, that I thought this is still rings great. This was on episode 1. We covered this. It was a company that a company goes bankrupt, some design firm of some sort, some type of .com online design company. They buy the domain, so they have a footprint. They have a history. They keep up all the assets of the company. And then they hire a bunch of people. What do you do when you get hired? You give your social security, you give your banking information for direct deposit. They gave them a bunch of weird, menial jobs doing some type of dev work that seemed kind of meaningless. But, if someone says, I'm going to pay you 70 G's a year to sit at home and do dev work, you go, fine, I'm going to sit around and do menial dev work for 70 G's a year and wait for the big job to come in. Then they accidentally overpaid all these people by a lot, wired the money right in your bank account. Then they called them all. Made a mistake. Can you wire it to this account? Oh, no problem, because you want that next part of your 70G paycheck, so you're just like, whatever, I'm not going to take the money and run. I'm going to go ahead and wire the money back where they said to wire it to. Turns out that was all part of a large nationwide scam where they turned every employee into a money mule to filter it out. Wow. So by the time they ran around, the FBI ran around and found all these people who they thought were part of the scam. Turns out they were all just accidental employees, victims of it. These people are held in interrogation. What happens next? What do they have about you? All your personal information. They're now racking up all their personal identity information they had for these developers while the FBI has them, so they're not getting any alerts, and they're pwning them and making the problem worse. And at the end, they didn't catch the bad guys. Not that I know of. So when I was having some drinks with the red team, I'm like, that's a story. That is, they gave me a lot more to the story, but it's like, wow, that's a whole.
I would like to hear a nice audio diary of that.
That would be one too. I wonder if they would like to go in dark territories. That's a crazy story. Yeah. That's a because you're investigating, and the red team's just investigating the whole thing. Like, they're finding where the compromises were, but then it was all the money laundering. It was, why are people getting it? Why are these being wired in a bank account? Like, this, there's something so obvious about this. Like, and you know, they're working with the FBI. The red team was working once they found this and doing all this whole thing. I'm sorry, they weren't a red team. They would have been a breach team. But the same group, because the same people do some red team. It was part of our remediation they were doing. Said that wrong at the beginning, but you get the concept. This is a very deep. I'm hanging out with these security guys, going, "Whoa, this is a lot," and they're like, "Yeah," because you're like, "Why did we find them so easy? These are real people with homes that we can find on Facebook. Like, why are they so not good at OPSEC and taking money?"
Pretty scary.
So, anyways, I think that's it.
Yeah,
that was the bottom
all
of
the
it.
stories we have for this week.
And I don't have a movie recommendation. I got a book recommendation. That's Snowden's new book. I have not read it yet, but my friends who have been messaging me, Tom, why haven't you read this yet? Like, they're binging it as well. They said it's really good. I only know this from people who said it, so I don't know if it's good, but it's Snowden. Dude, the guy's quotable. The guy's done some cool stuff. I think that's going to be interesting. So, Snowden book is my recommendation. I don't know if Mo has any what the fuck ever off the wall shit he's been watching.
I actually do.
Okay.
I found a movie. It is a Japanese movie called Parasite,
Okay.
and you should watch it. It has a nice plot twist. It's about social economics,
Okay.
but it has a nice plot twist that turns it kind of into a horror film, but you have to see it.
I love a lot of the Japanese and Korean ones. I don't mind watching subtitles either. Like, if the content's good, the story is intriguing, I'm all in.
Yeah,
so.
it's watch it.
All right.
Parasite.
Oh, by the way, remember we were talking about Blackwater?
Yeah.
That was number 30 on the list. It's Academia now.
Oh,
They
they
changed
changed
it.
they
They
changed
changed
the
the
name.
Yep.
Oh, because they came.
It's
under
a PR
fire
thing.
Their name got hot.
Yeah. Well, it's like Comcast. We're the most hated company in America, so now we're Xfinity.
Yeah, still call them Comcast.
Everyone calls them Comcast.
Yes.
We still hate you, even if your name's Xfinity.
And because you overbill us.
Well, you're still an awful company that does awful things. I've talked about this on my channel. I kind of wish. I don't think he works for him anymore. I wonder if I could ever get him to do a show. My friend was in management at Comcast, and I don't know where he's at now. But when he moved out of state, I won't say what state he moved to, so I don't want to get him in trouble. But when he worked for Comcast out of state, one of the things he told me was they cut the wages and how many people they would hire. He's like, tickets are stacked up. We don't have anything. And they verbally would never answer this in an email because he was trying to get him to do it in writing because he wanted to be a whistleblower, so to speak. But what they told him verbally was, we're the only thing they can get. We don't care about closing the tickets faster. Mm-hmm. That was their answer. And
literally, that's how they treat you.
Yeah, they're like, we have no competition. Mm-hmm. We're locked in this zone we're in. Therefore, we don't care about servicing the tickets any faster. This is as much budget as you're going to get. And he says, dude, he goes, the wages were so low, he got the dumbest people. He says, I couldn't hire anyone who was good because no one would work for those wages. He goes, so I had to like babysit a bunch of dumb people all the time that didn't do good work. And he's like, and he goes, no resources to even hire more of them. They were booked up. We'd tell people 2 weeks to get your stuff turned back on. Sheesh. What are you going to do? There's zero internet providers in the area he was in.
I literally told them they're communism.
Yeah, it's kind of sucks because they have lock-in deals in some of these places. We're lucky here in Michigan, but I know other states and other cities, some of them have deeply serious problems where Comcast is strictly the only way to get internet. You use Comcast or you don't have internet, sorry. And when you're in those places, Comcast doesn't give a shit. Yeah. They have no incentive to. They'll do the minimum necessary.
Well, in Detroit, Comcast is the only cable provider. Yeah. That's the only cable provider you can get.
Yep.
You can still get satellite and other, but only cable is through Comcast.
Yeah, it's a mess. It's a mess.
I think that's it.
I think that's it.
Yes.
All right.
Come to the end.
I'll
Thank you for joining us once again.
Tired. I'm going to ride my motorcycle home, go chill out.
I'm going to drink some more iced tea.
I already clicked it. No, I didn't click it yet.
Oh, you almost hit it.
Peace.